This is Cumberland Mills Free Radio, broadcasting on 98.5 FM. Giving parts of Westbrook a different voice.
In the commodity markets over the past 2 weeks, and that included gold and silver. And the United States government, through the CME, which owns COMEX, which is the futures exchange, they rigged the market. Absolutely no question. They raised margin requirements from $9,500 to $21,600, and they did it 5 times to accomplish that, which is unheard of. And the commodity houses that invest for people who are in the commodity markets, they then arbitrarily and simultaneously doubled those margins to 40 to 42,000, which means that all of the small and medium-sized investors who are long couldn't come up with money fast enough to meet the margin requirements. Some did, but very few. And they were all blown out of the market. So you had silver free fall from $49 an ounce to $32. And you had gold drop about $75. They were really after silver. Why were they after silver? Because the people who are on the CFTC, the Commodity Futures Trading Corporation, they are members of the exchange, and they're short silver, and they're getting massacred.
Yeah.
Now, the big hitter in there is J.P. Morgan Chase and HSBC, Hong Kong Shanghai Bank Corporation. They are short about 45 to 1. What's normal? 8 or 9 to 1.
Wow.
And they can't get out. They can't extricate themselves. So they pull this caper. Now gold and silver are going right straight back up again.
Yeah.
Now it's going to be interesting to see if we have another attack. What I'm doing with my subscribers and everybody who reads my publication, and you guys do, so you know what I'm talking about, I've told all the people out there to send a letter to every representative, every senator, to the CFTC, the SEC, and the presidents of the New York Stock Exchange, the American Stock Exchange, and the NASDAQ, and tell them we are sick and tired of the United States government rigging the commodity market, particularly gold and silver, and the shares going naked short, and we want it stopped now.
Yeah. If we could get 100,000 people to do that, it might make a difference.
Oh, I will. My letter goes all over the world. Millions of people read every issue. It's the most plagiarized publication in the world.
Yeah, probably you're right. Yep.
You see that the silver price right now is $38.21.
Yeah, it opened at $38.30 something this morning. So
yeah, well, silver the last time I saw it, which was 10 minutes ago, was up $1.19, and gold was up $11.70, and that was at 7:30 when you guys picked me up, which is about 15 minutes ago. I've got the tape coming out of London right now, and we'll see it here in a minute. But anyway, they're not going to be able to stop it. And if they pull that again, Ron Paul will have a congressional investigation, I promise you. How long will it take? Probably a year. But what else are you going to do? That's the only avenue open to us. The political avenue, and if it doesn't work, we get anarchy.
With Ron Paul at some point, Bob, and I hope he has a good security detail, because I'm telling you, he is right now a major threat to these banksters, and they're going to have to react. They're caged animals right now.
I read a tape. It's going to be in tomorrow's issue, the International Forecaster. It's a link, and it's a very gruesome piece of information from Syria, and it shows in graphic detail what went on there. And the reason I ran it is I want Americans to understand that the Syrians who demonstrated, who were arbitrarily shot down in the streets, had no weapons. And it's a good lesson for Americans. Don't you ever, ever give up your weapons to anybody.
Right. And we're not talking about any of this. You're right.
No, you're right. And but I will say, let me tell you.
Go ahead, Bob. Go ahead.
Let me tell you what the Middle East is about in the case of Libya and Syria. Russia has a major naval base in Syria, and this is really more an attack on the Russians than it is on the Syrian government. They want the Syrian government changed so they can kick the Russians out of that geopolitical position. At the same time, of 30,000 workers that were working in Libya, these were Chinese workers, 29,000 are gone. They had to pull them out. And they were drilling for oil and things like that. And they have these contracts for this sweet oil, which is in great abundance in Libya. And by going into Libya and doing what they've done, they had a number of other reasons as well. They have really attacked the Chinese. And in Syria, they've really attacked the Russians. So it's like a game of chess. What are those two nations going to do next? Well, I think they'll hold back until they don't have any other choice. But I think it's the beginnings of World War III.
What is going to happen? What do you think the market impact will be in terms of gold and silver stocks if it becomes clear in the short term that the euro is indeed done?
Well, it's more than a euro. The gold is now the only real currency in the world, and silver's in short supply, and so it tags along in that environment of gold being the only currency. And then, of course, we now have QE1, QE2, and we are going to have QE3, which is going to create inflation probably over the next 3 years up to 50%. And we'll have hyperinflation.
If they don't create inflation, how are they going to pay anything back? They have to.
That's right.
They have to keep printing this stuff, otherwise the system collapses on its own.
And gold and silver will go ballistic along with the shares, and that's why they so desperately break the law in order to keep it down.
Yep.
This is not the first time they've done it. They've done it before. But there's too many informed people today.
The top one.
Give me some details on breaking the law. I want the weapons that we know. How do we hold their feet to the fire when they break the law? If they break the law, we should be able to prosecute.
Well, you can't because they own the prosecutors. They own the court system.
They own the court system, Jack. You know that.
Well,
the agencies like the FBI is no more, no less than the local Gestapo.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you got to put them on notice. You either do what you're supposed to do, or you ain't going to be around anymore. That's really the bottom line.
Bob, I got a question that kind of ties into what you were talking about in terms of QE3 and 50% inflation and all that. At some point in time, of course, as Jack has said, you're going to have to deflate the currency to the point where they can pay back the debt with worthless dollars and claim it was taken care of. But it would seem to me that most of the money masters are probably wise enough to have been storing aside gold and silver for a very long time. So even when the crisis breaks out in terms of, a total economic meltdown, there's not going to be any change in who holds the wealth.
Well, that may be true, but we're going to relieve them of their wealth because they've broken the laws in every country.
Okay.
They've created treasonous acts. So we just take it all away from them. That's all. I mean, they have no trouble taking it away from us.
Yeah. If you can find it.
Oh, we'll find it, believe me.
Yeah. Well, the theme of this whole program is that, probably of the show really, is that we are on the verge of very, very disturbing times. And my whole point is to get folks to be prepared spiritually. Number one, it's great to have assets. It's great to have food stored. It's great to have some gold and silver set aside. But if you aren't prepared spiritually for the immense turmoil that's coming, it's going to make the Great Depression and World War II look like a picnic, then nothing else is going to matter, Bob.
No, you're right. And America, and most of the world, and I travel extensively, they are in no way near prepared.
That's right.
Maybe 20% of the population of the world.
What would you estimate, Bob, is the percentage of the American population that owns some gold and silver?
0.8%.
Wow.
Less than 1%.
Wow. Oh,
and that includes the shares as well.
Including
so it's
shares.
very, very small. We're going through an attack on gold and silver right now in the market. Yeah. I'm watching the market as we talk. And that's the United States government in there trying to stop this rally. Mm-hmm. It's not profit-taking. This is the government.
Well, it can't happen forever. I mean, they can't suppress it forever, can they?
No. in finality, people get in their cars and they'll go to Washington and confront the people in Washington and say, look, you know what's going on, do something about it.
Hey, Joey, watch this! Davey, come back! The ice can break! You're breaking my heart! Ah! Help me!
Hold it! Don't go on the ice! You'll only add more weight!
Snow job!
Find something that'll reach. This branch ought to work. Remember, frozen ponds and rivers may not be totally frozen.
We could be skating on thin ice. Now we know.
And knowing is half the battle.
G.I. Joe!